Hi there, and welcome to the show. I'm Robin Shuckburgh, and you find me again at the wonderful Dancing Trousers Cookery School. I've come to see Alexis Thompson, who's going to give me another cookery lesson. I'm not at all certain what we're going to do today, but as always, I'm excited. It's been an extraordinary experience for me, this, because I'm really beginning to cook proper food for myself. And it's very useful to be taught some basic dishes like this. I'm using them a great deal more than I expected. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to be kept up to date with everything we do. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter, and our website is thecotswoldexplorer.co.uk. Now come with me, let's go and find Alexis. All right, morning Alexis.
Good morning, Robin.
It's lovely to see you, and so nice to be back in your wonderful kitchen.
Lovely to have you.
But you're the cauliflower sitting there. I gather that's a hint in what we're going to do today.
It's a hint. I thought that we would make cauliflower cheese because it's a delicious side dish. It's a delicious main dish, actually, if you're vegetarian.
Absolutely.
It makes a very good main dish.
Yeah.
And it involves making a white sauce, which you then turn into a cheese sauce. And the white sauce, which is called in classic French cooking, is called a bechamel, is what's known as a mother sauce, because from a white sauce come many, many other things.
Right.
So once you've nailed a white sauce, you can make a parsley sauce, an onion sauce, or, as we're going to, a cheese sauce.
Yes,
it's a great thing to learn.
So a bechamel sauce is basically just a plain white sauce?
Plain white sauce,
I had no
yes.
idea. Well, there you go, that's an interesting thing. Okay.
There won't be a test at the end, don't
No,
worry.
I shall try and remember.
So we're going to start. I've got the water boiling away ready for you, because we're going to start by prepping our cauliflower. What you will remember from when we've spoken before about prepping fruit and vegetables is that the first and most important thing is this is not very safe as it stands. So the first thing you want to do is take a bit off the stalk so that you've got a flat surface to work with.
Right, okay. And that, I presume, I do just simply
just cut down, that's it. And there, instantly, you've got a safe surface to work on.
Right.
So now, there are many ways of doing this, but I find the easiest thing to do is halve it and then quarter it, and then we'll take the florets off. The florets are these little, look like model trees. We'll be taking those off. So halve, then quarter, Robin.
Right. There we go.
Perfect. Now, actually, there would be no reason that you couldn't steam or boil this as it comes and serve big pieces, particularly if you were serving it as a main course. But you would probably want to take the thickest part of the core out, because that can be a bit crunchy. But actually, what I'm going to get you to do is divide off the little florets themselves. So if you would like to sort of take them individually off the main stalk in the middle.
And you do this with a knife rather than...
Yes, I would do it with a knife. Keeps it neat.
Yeah, okay. It divides rather neatly and naturally out this vegetable.
And the more that you can keep the florets roughly the same size, the easier the cooking process, because they'll all cook at the same time.
Right, okay.
But we'll look at that once they're off. We'll have a little look.
Yes, I see what you mean. So actually,
so that's
you have
two.
a choice
Yes,
of having one or two there.
Yeah, so I'd take
I'll leave it there for the moment.
And then we'll come back to it. Exactly.
I see what you mean.
Yes, the tiddlers will be overcooked and the bigger bits won't be cooked enough. But you know, hey, it's not going to be a deal breaker.
No. But I do get the picture. One has the option to have the larger ones. Well, I'll make them bigger on this occasion.
And we will probably, when we come to cook it, I've got the water boiling away ready to go, but we probably won't cook the whole cauliflower, just for the purposes of this lesson. We'll separate the bits out.
Right.
And you've got one last bit there to do.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you see, slacking.
Blind as a bat.
I'm going to put the bits in the old compost for recycling and turning into something good for the garden. Nothing gets wasted.
Right.
Perfect. Okay. So what I was talking about was we've got little tiddly bits like that, and
Mm-hmm.
probably if you were doing this at home, I would suggest that that becomes a 2er rather
Right,
than
okay.
stays as a 1er.
So you try and get them the same
what
size.
we'll do is we'll from this collection here, if you would just like to scrutinise it and see that these are all roughly the same size,
Right,
and then we'll
okay.
pop them into cook.
And
so just have a
using this lot? Or
no, I think that's
so
well
using
there.
this lot,
I'm going to
okay,
take
right,
these away
fair
because
enough,
I
we
think
can
that's
do- yeah, that's-
plenty.
okay.
So I'm going to take the spare away.
I think we're going to be fine on this.
Yeah, that looks great.
Maybe too small. There you go.
Okay, so we have got our pan of rapidly boiling water,
Right.
into which you are going to put your cauliflower with great care there, Robin. I don't want you to hurt yourself because that is really going like the clappers.
I will
so
be cautious.
mind your fingers
I will be
as
very
you go
cautious.
in.
Is there any salt in the water?
There isn't actually, because I don't think it particularly matters. We're going to cover this with a delicious sauce, and I don't tend to add salt to the water for vegetables unless it's potatoes,
Right.
and I'm making either roast or mash, where it makes a real chemical difference to the fluffiness of the final version.
right,
But
okay.
I don't tend to put it in something like this.
Fair
so
enough.
in they've all gone. And it will take a moment for the water to come back up to the boil, but to speed that process up, put the lid on, because otherwise you're just sending all of the energy that you're using straight up into the sky.
Yep.
So that will help it come back to a boil. Once it's at a boil, I would say this is probably a 4 to 5 minute boil that we need.
Right.
And we will test the cauliflower with the point of a fine paring knife to see if it's tender.
Right, okay.
I like my cauliflower with a bit of texture left. We don't want it to be mushy, so we will keep an eye on it.
And it'll presumably, will it do a little bit of cooking after the boiling process as well?
Yes,
So you've got to be a
and
little cautious.
that's a very good point. And often what people are doing if they're making stuff ahead of time is you would cook the cauliflower and instantly plunge it into iced water, which stops the cooking process, so the cauliflower remains exactly as you wish it to be, rather than just going on cooking that little bit too long.
Yeah.
So we will let this, I mean, as you can see that in the time that we've been talking, that's
Back to
just
boil.
about come back up. We've got a nice simmer going on there. 4 to 5 minutes. I tend not to put a timer on it. I tend to just go with testing it. But
Right.
if you wanted to put a timer on it, about that would be right.
4 or 5 minutes.
4 to 5 minutes. And then what you'll be doing is you'll just be testing it with the point of a knife like that.
Right,
So
okay.
we will come back to that momentarily.
Do a little wavy line.
Do a little wavy
Okay,
line.
let's do that. Don't know whether Ross is up to that. Yes, okay. Right, so I'll now test this with a
Yes,
knife.
pop in the
little
little
sharp
paring knife and see if that feels tender. And obviously you're testing the thickest
yes.
part of the core. I think
Yeah.
that's done, isn't it?
It does. It gives very nicely, but it's still got a
But
little
it's,
resistance.
yes,
That's
got a
what you need,
resistance,
isn't
which
it?
is what we want.
Yeah,
So, your job, sir, is
Right.
to drain that lot in the sink over there. Have great care as you go.
Yeah,
hot
absolutely.
water, and into the old
Right.
sieve. That's it. And then pop the pan on our heat-proof mat there. That's
Right.
absolutely fine, and that
Lovely.
can sit there until we're ready for it.
Perfect.
I like to drain the cauliflower because the florets are so compact. They actually hold quite a lot of water, and I'm sure you have had a very watery cauliflower cheese at some
Yeah.
time in your life, and it's because that water is held and then goes into the sauce, and suddenly it's more like cauliflower soup than cauliflower
Yeah.
cheese. So I'm actually going to put that onto some absorbent kitchen paper, which I just think makes the difference.
Right, okay.
So you have got a job meanwhile, which is that you are on cheese grating duty there.
Right.
You had a combination of a really nice strong cheddar, really nice crunchy salty cheddar, and also a little bit of parmesan, because I think that lovely salty strength of parmesan peps up the whole thing.
Yep,
So
okay.
you finish off doing your last little
Right.
bits while
No,
I
right.
drain your cauliflower on a bit of kitchen paper. And we're grating the cheese on the fine side of the grater so that when it goes into the hot sauce it will melt really quickly and easily.
Right, and it almost disappears. at
Yeah,
once. Okay.
it'll disappear very easily. Lovely.
that'll do us
Nicely
probably.
done, sir. That looks great. Okay, so this cauliflower can now gently go out onto the kitchen paper like so, and you'll see it will immediately start getting very damp. There's
Quite
a lot
of
of water in there.
And presumably the evaporation gets rid of a bit.
It does a
You
bit,
see
yes.
the steam coming
Yes.
off it, but I can see that putting it on there makes a
Yeah,
difference.
makes a
immediately
difference.
making a difference.
Right
That's worth
then,
knowing.
let us now start the education process of
Yeah.
learning to make the white sauce.
Now, this I am intrigued by. I must
Okay,
admit.
let's talk about what you've got in terms of ingredients. You've got unsalted butter, plain flour, whole milk, your cheese, and my little special secret ingredient, which is some lovely whole grain mustard, because I think whole grain mustard and cheese work really well together. Clearly that's optional. If you don't like it, you don't have to put it in.
A nice little bite to the end of the dish.
Now there's a rule around quantities in terms of making a white sauce, because you will be starting by making what's called a roux, which is when you combine butter and flour, then adding your milk to turn it into a white sauce. And it's always equal quantities of butter and flour. So you've got 30 grams of butter, 30 grams of flour, and 300 millilitres of milk. So it's a really easy one to remember.
Okay.
So it's all the same number at the front,
All three,
but the
yes.
liquid is 10 times.
And
So
then that's
yeah,
nice liquid.
so
That's
it's really
very
straightforward.
helpful. Okay.
So the first thing I'm going to do is get your pan going, and we don't want the pan to be raging hot, just nicely warm.
Right.
You've got your lovely silicone spatula. Pop your butter into the saucepan, Robin, and let's get that melting. And then once the butter has fully melted, and you really do want it to have all disappeared so that you've got a nice frothing amount of butter in the bottom of the pan, you can then tip all of your flour in.
Just simply all at once. Okay.
All at once, and then I'm going to make you stir like mad. In fact, I'm going to swap with you. I'm going to come this side. There we go.
Good
That
idea.
was seamless, that. No one spotted that happen at all. That's it.
Brilliant.
Now we're using unsalted butter because that way we're in control of the seasoning. Because obviously the cheese will, by its nature, be salty anyway, and it might be over salty if we use the salted
Particularly
butter.
with the parmesan in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I reckon that's got a nice froth on it. Flour all in one go. That's it. In it goes, and now stir, 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 stir. And you should see that what you get is it turns into a sort of straw-coloured paste.
Yeah.
Now, what normally happens at this point is people immediately start adding their liquid, and I'm not going to let you do that. I am going to say I want you to keep stirring that, and it will get a frothy, almost like a honeycomb look about it.
Yeah.
And that's really important, because what you're doing is cooking the flour out. If you start putting your liquid in too soon, you can actually end up with a slightly pasty end result.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So this is a really important element of the process.
I seem to remember making
that's
glue
looking
out
good.
of flour and water when I was
Oh
a kid.
dear, I do
Yeah,
hope this isn't going to be like that.
Exactly, so one
now
has to
look,
cook it.
you've just taken your pan off.
Oh,
so
sorry,
probably, no,
sorry.
it's induction, so we'll just that's it.
sorry.
No, doesn't matter. There we go. That's perfect.
Completely
So
forgotten about that.
slightly honeycomb look.
Yeah.
Now I want you to. I'm going to do the first one, so you know the quantity we're talking about. That much is going in.
Right.
Stir, 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 stir. And what should happen is you start chasing a ball of dough round the pan. That's it, get round the corners. That's the joy of the silicone spatula.
Yes,
there we
absolutely.
go, textbook ball of dough.
Yeah.
Once all your first set of liquids incorporated, you can come back for another quantity the same.
Right,
So
okay.
in it goes, that's it. And you want that little bit of sizzle, that tells you that the pan's hot enough. You'll slightly be fighting, this is a roux, so when you combine the flour and the butter, you've got what's called a roux.
Yeah.
And the roux will slightly fight the liquid being added, but it will take it.
Eventually take it. Yeah,
Once it's incorporated, you come back for the next lot.
Yeah, I see.
And
Okay.
not before. Right, next lot in,
quite
doing
right.
very nicely. That's it, lovely stuff. And as I say, the joy of learning to make a white sauce is you could then, you could add mushrooms to it, onions to it, parsley to it. It can become all kinds of other sauces. That's the thing.
Fantastic.
Right, bit of elbow grease. Let's get that combined. I'm not going to let you slack, Robin, on this one. You've got to keep it moving. It's really important. That's why these silicone spatulas are nice. They get right into the corners.
They don't let anything sit there and burn.
That's
which
it.
is the
Stir,
key
stir,
thing.
stir, stir, stir. Bit more elbow grease. That's it. Right, next lot of liquid in. There we go. And obviously, as you add more liquid, the volume in the pan increases, so the heat may need to be adjusted a little bit to go just a tiny bit higher. I'm happy with that at the moment, though. I think it's better that you learn the process and we won't worry too much. That's it, lovely. And you can see that it's gone from being a ball of dough that you chased around the pan, and gradually, as you add more and more liquid, it starts to look like a sauce. And look, this is just the stage at which it's now starting to look sauce-like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep stirring. Let's get all those lumps worked through. That's it. There we go. That's starting to look really nice. And this is the benefit of adding the liquid a little bit at a time, is that you will end up with a really lovely smooth result. Because when you started, it looked a bit like porridge, but it looks lovely now. Right, next let of liquid in. That's it. Beautiful.
They'd be tempted to put it all in, which I'm being an impatient person.
Do you know, there are recipes where they put absolutely everything all at once in. In fact, I think Delia has one. I'm sure it works. It's not the classical way that you would be taught to do it, but who am I to criticise, you know, the marvellous Delia? But this method, I think you always get a very shiny, smooth result.
Yeah, okay.
Right, I think you could put at least half of the liquid that you've got left in, Robin. That's absolutely fine. I'm going to turn this down a little bit, just to... That's it.
Now we're looking to get the final texture.
That's it, final texture. And as you can see, now it looks like a sauce.
It does.
So at the moment, it looks like a slightly thick custard, and it will be more of a pouring sauce by the time you get your final quantity of milk in, which you can do any... Yeah, I reckon you can. Let's go for all of that. Let's get it all in. Perfect. Look at that. Superb.
Oops, squishy.
No, that's fine. That is grand. Looking really, really good. And as you can see, not only have you got the sauce consistency, you've got a beautiful shininess to it now.
Yeah, it's smooth.
So it starts off looking like honeycomb, then it looks a bit like porridge, and now it looks like a sauce, and that's what we're after. And interestingly, people say, oh, you have to get a whisk in. Well, you didn't need a whisk. No need for a whisk. Just keep on giving it some elbow grease, and you'll get those lumps out.
Yeah.
Right. Next stage is your cheeses going in. I'm going to get you a dough scraper, Robin, just to make your life a little bit easier getting the cheese up and into the pan. So you can pop all your cheese in.
Right.
Lovely stuff. And I know it looks like a large quantity, but I like a cheese sauce to be cheesy.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's absolutely the way it should be.
There we go. Lovely stuff.
Never trying to disguise oneself as something else.
Now, are you a fan of the grainy mustard?
I am.
Perfect.
I certainly am.
So
I
you're
think
happy
that's
to
a
put a
very
bit
good
in.
idea.
Great.
I certainly absolutely am.
Now the cheese will necessarily thicken the sauce a little bit, so at this point, if we think it looks a little bit thick, we can always add a bit more milk.
Right, okay.
And if you were making this ahead of time, you could actually make this, if you were doing it for Sunday lunch, not only could you make it in the morning, you could actually make it the day before, but what you would find is when you came to heat it, it would need a little bit of thinning down. It would simply have stiffened up a bit and need a little bit more liquid.
Evaporated a little.
Right,
and so on.
while you're stirring, I'll help. I'll help a little bit. I'll put the mustard in. 2 teaspoons?
Yeah, I think so, don't you?
Yes, come on, let's go for it. There we are, 2 teaspoons of the marvellous grainy mustard, which is a very, very happy partner for strong cheese.
Yeah.
And then what I want you to do is just, for a moment, stop stirring and just look at it and make sure that we've heated it sufficiently. There you go. Can you see the bubbles?
Yeah.
Perfect. So we know that that flour has been sufficiently cooked.
Properly cooked.
Properly cooked. So we'll turn off the heat. I'm going to let you taste a bit, Robin, because at this point, if you feel that you wanted to adjust the seasoning, you could.
Right.
My personal preference is I wouldn't put pepper into it. No. I think that the mustard is doing enough of a job now. Don't burn your mouth, because cheese is obviously very, very hot.
Melted cheese. Famous.
Enough of everything?
Quite enough salt. It's perfect, actually. It's really nice.
It's interesting, isn't it?
The saltiness comes from the cheese, I suppose.
Yeah, and the parmesan particularly. But if at this point you thought it does need a little bit more salt, you could pop a bit in, or if you felt it needed more mustard, you could, but you're happy with that.
I am.
Excellent, chef. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do another wavy effect like that while Ross does his magic, and then we're going to put this into the dish we're going to serve it in, put the sauce over so that we have a final product.
Brilliant.
How does that sound?
Okay, that sounds absolutely perfect.
Excellent.
Let's do that very thing. Right, well, here we are. We've now got our beautifully cooked and drained cauliflower.
Perfect. So we've got our component parts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you were doing this at home, if you had done your cauliflower ahead of time, you could zap it in the microwave to heat it up if you wanted to.
Okay.
And what we're going to do now is you can see how much water has come out of that cauliflower onto the kitchen paper.
Certainly.
That will make all the difference. This will eat so much more pleasingly. So if you would like to get the florets, arrange them artistically in the bowl. That would be grand.
I will certainly do my best.
Lovely,
Perfect.
lovely. Now, again, if you were doing this as part of a Sunday lunch, what you might do is have the oven on, and once you have coated the cauliflower with the sauce, you would then put the whole thing in the oven to maybe get it slightly browned on top.
Right, lovely.
We're not going to do that. We haven't really got time for that.
No.
So give your sauce a bit of a stir round. It should still be good and warm, but just in case a little bit of a skin has started to form.
It is warm, I can see that it's still
For
warm.
real luxuriousness, if you wanted to put a little bit of double cream in, you could.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Okay.
yes, if you wished.
When in doubt, add double cream.
Pour that evenly over the surface of our cauliflower, Robin.
Right, okay. I ought to be doing it the other way round so that you can see this
Oh,
lovely
look at
way.
that flowing. I believe that's called napping. I believe a sauce naps when it goes onto food. I don't know where I've trawled that from in my memory banks. That looks really good.
Looks absolutely wonderful, doesn't it? Right.
Perfect. Look at that. And as I say, you could either pop that into a hot oven briefly to just very slightly get a bit of colour on the top of the cheese sauce, or indeed you could put it under the grill, but be very cautious if you put it under the grill, because cheese, as we say, will burn quite quickly. So it's got a very
it turns very fast too.
Yeah, that's it. Look at that.
Looks absolutely wonderful.
Most delicious. So I suggest we make this look attractive. There is your finished dish. So, as is our usual routine, you ought to try some of the lovely food that you've made, sir.
Better do that very thing. Okay, well, I'll put a little.
Out.
Look at that. It comes out beautifully.
So lovely with, lamb, beef. And to be honest, I'd have it with anything. I think it's terrific.
Well, it's a wonderful supper too. I mean,
it's a lovely supper.
If I'm honest, I mean, the joy of what's happening to me coming to see you like this is that it's meant that I cook for myself in fairly small quantities, these nice simple dishes, and it means I eat infinitely better than I would otherwise have done.
Yes, the humble cauliflower I think can be a bit underrated, and I think it's a really versatile vegetable. So a little bit of resistance in the cauliflower,
there is
just
indeed,
nicely
just right,
cooked.
perfect.
There you go.
Right. Oh, that's delicious.
Nice and cheesy, beautiful consistency.
I'm going to make this for supper tonight.
But well done, that's your first white sauce. I'm going to shake you by the hand. You have done a classic white sauce and turned it into a cheese sauce. Well done.
Absolutely brilliant, Alexis. Thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.
I shall use it a lot.
Good.
See you next week.
Yes, indeed.
Well, that was fun. It was absolutely delicious cauliflower cheese. I do hope you'll go away and try it. And that, particularly the white sauce, which is such a useful sauce to have. It goes with almost everything, and you can create all kinds of wonderful alternative sauces. Great fun for me. This experience has been marvellous. I'm eating so well these days. Remember, you can find us on Facebook and on Twitter. And if you want to have a look at our website, it is thecotswoldexplorer.co.uk. Please subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you next month.